Hello, welcome back to another episode of watching us renovate this house. So as of filming this, I have just posted my first video, the empty house tour of our house on YouTube. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of how far in advance I have been filming these videos. Alan is continuing to lay the flooring in the back of the house, and I'm gonna spend some time today cleaning up because it's gotten a little messy in here. It is a construction site now, and there are construction materials everywhere, there are tools everywhere. So I need to get in here and clean up really well, because the next thing that I wanna do, and the thing that we wanna do before we move in next week, is sand the texture off of our ceiling. So the ceiling has, it's not a very pronounced texture, but it's kind of got that stippled brush texture. And I would prefer that the ceilings are smooth. I also just think it will look cleaner. I feel like dust just clings to it. It's harder to clean. When I do come in and sand this, it's gonna get a little messy, and there are just fewer things that are gonna get dusty in here. And it'll just be easier to put drop cloths over certain areas where we do have things piled up. So that's the plan for today. I got it. All right, so this went from disorganized chaos to kind of organized chaos, but at least I've kind of grouped things together. So I've got tools, sanding stuff, painting stuff, cleaning stuff, patching stuff, a little bit of miscellaneous hardware and things, and personal protective equipment, some more miscellaneous stuff, more painting stuff underneath, another box of miscellaneous stuff. Got all my floor samples here that I was trying out. This is the range that was left here in the house. I think we're gonna get a new range because this one's in pretty rough shape. So we're just leaving that there for right now. Things put together with zip ties. Oh, okay. Jeez, there's a lot of bugs in here. Oh my God, there's so many bugs. Hey babe, I need your help, baby. Don't keep your mouth closed because there's bugs up here. A lot of them.
At least you got the one I hate first.
Yeah.
I'll hit you in the head constantly.
Yeah.
You sure your power's out here?
Yep. If it ain't, then we in trouble. Are you holding it?
Yeah.
Okay. We're off. Thank you. Oh, I'm like sweating. That stressed me out so much. There were just like bugs flying out of it. Nasty. Yay. Did it. Did it. Oh, God, I really don't want to touch this. Yes. That one was a real pain in the butt. Oh, God. More bugs. right, so I spent time yesterday getting things tidied up in here so that I can start sanding the ceiling. I rented a special piece of equipment for this from Home Depot. I got a drywall sander. This thing, it's not super heavy, and I've watched a lot of YouTube tutorials on how to use this, so hopefully it goes okay, but essentially I just have to hold it up to the ceiling and sand off the texture. As long as the ceiling has not been painted, which I don't think it has. I couldn't really tell any difference in the texture or hardness of the ceiling in different areas. I think this is gonna work okay, and hopefully it will go pretty fast. It also has a little place here to hook up the shop vac to hopefully catch most of the dust, but I also have some drop cloths. I'm gonna start in the hallway in the back. I've got this rental for 24 hours, so hopefully I can get it done in that time. I'd like to be able to return this today if I could, but it's already 11 o'clock, so we'll see how fast this goes. All right, let's see that power. Oh, it's a workout, but it works. It's like riding a bucking bronco at first. Wow, okay. You can kind of see the difference in texture there. It works. Feels pretty even. Okay, first impression. That's a lot of work. It's very dusty, even with the shop vac, and I actually think my filter's clogged now because my shop vac's not even hardly sucking. I'm gonna go clean the filter out. I have a big job ahead of me today, but I'm just gonna keep powering through. If I need to, I can always rent the sander for another day. I'm not too worried about that. Onward. I decided to test out a little patch of ceiling with the wetting and scraping method, and I actually really liked it a lot better. All right, I might be changing my strategy here. We're doing the scraping method. So the scraping method looks like it's gonna be just easier. I don't know if it's gonna be quicker. It's still messy, but it's not gonna be as dusty, because that's one of the things about using this drywall sander is even though it is hooked up to the shop vac, I mean, dust gets everywhere, and the shop vac can only handle so much of that drywall dust. I probably need a special filter for the shop vac to handle the drywall dust. So my plan now is to finish working on getting this hallway painted, or at least primed today. That way, Alan can work his way into the hallway and finish laying the flooring in the hallway, and then the back of the house will be pretty much ready to go, minus trim and that kind of stuff. Then today, at the end of the day, I'm gonna take the drywall sander back. When I go back to Home Depot, I'm gonna get the supplies to do the ceiling scraping, and I'll do the ceiling scraping tomorrow. I'm covered in drywall dust. I had originally planned to do the scraping method, and I really should have tested it before I went and got the drywall sander. I kind of just got excited about the concept of a drywall sander, and it just looked like it would be so much easier and faster and get a better result. Sometimes it's not always about having the most powerful tool, it's about having the best tool. And I think in my case, and for my strength level and my dust tolerance, I think the scraping method is gonna work better because the pieces are gonna come off in clumps. It's just not gonna get dust everywhere. It'll be easier to clean up. So that's the new plan. And in a way, I'm glad that I did that. Now I have tried both methods, and I can kind of give you an honest review of which one I think works best for me. And when I put that water on the ceiling and scraped it, I mean, it came off like butter. It was so easy. And I only left the water on there for maybe 30 seconds and it peeled right off. So I think it can go pretty quickly. So that's the new plan. I got the primer on. Oh, I might do that little corner there.
Why don't you just go now and take the duster back, come back and put that coat on.
Okay, I can do that. Alan has officially finished putting the flooring down in the bedrooms. This is the last bedroom. This was formerly the green and blue bedroom. So different now. It's the first bedroom we put it in. It's gonna be our bedroom. Second bedroom, which is gonna be my temporary sewing room. Now we're gonna work on the hallway, or he's gonna work on the hallway. I picked up a pump sprayer to wet down the ceiling. So you just pump it a few times and then you can mist the ceiling with it. I made sure to saturate all of the areas I was working in pretty well. Then I used a 10-inch drywall knife to scrape the texture off the ceiling. And I just worked in about 3 foot by 6 foot sections around the room until I was done with the ceiling. This is not hard to do. It's labor intensive. It does kind of give you an arm workout, but it actually scrapes off pretty easily. So I'm glad that I decided to go with this method over the drywall sander. After wetting each section, I just let it sit for a couple of minutes before I started scraping. Okay, I almost got this whole section done. Well, I got the room done. There's a couple of areas in the corner up here near the ceiling that I need to kind of go in with just a hand sander, because when I was scraping, I kind of caught some of the drywall tape. So I'm just gonna take a sander and get those edges. I think that'll just be a little bit better because it'll keep everything flat. You know, I won't be scraping under the tape. Same thing over here. I think there used to be a wall here dividing the living room and the hallway. And it looks like, again, they had removed a wall and did some patching in the ceiling. So I don't want to scrape up that patch. I'm just gonna try to sand it down. I may have to do a little patching on top of it, but I think a sander is gonna work best for that. It's not too bad. Like, I am covered a little bit in some of the stuff, but really spraying it down like that helps manage the dust so much. So it's messy, but there's just not as much dust, which is like so nice. And like, I know I look so crazy right now. I feel disgusting. I will be doing the dining room and kitchen area eventually. For now, I'm just gonna get this area good and cleaned up. And yeah. I also got a new filter for our shop vac that is specifically for drywall dust. So this one's supposed to be good for drywall dust. So hopefully I won't clog up the shop vac with all of this stuff. Next, I started prepping the room to be painted. So I removed the trim, and I'll just warn you, there were a lot of dead bugs packed into this trim. So if this is something that bothers you, avert your eyes now. You've been warned. It was really bad. They literally poured out of the trim when I pulled it off, and it was pretty upsetting. I'm not gonna lie. I had a moment of extreme overwhelm after pulling this trim off because it just grossed me out. All of them were dead. There were no live bugs in here. I think they've just been in there for a really long time. I don't know why, but I decided to keep pushing forward, cleaned everything up, and continued prepping the room. Made sure to vacuum up all the bugs out of the little cracks around the windows and get it as clean as possible so I could start patching the room. I've been patching so many walls in this house that I feel like I'm a pro now, and this room might have been worse than the green room when it came to patching. I also went around and sanded those corners on the ceiling and that wall that was patched, and then just made sure to prep all the walls really well, sanded everything down. And at this point, I just felt dirty and disgusting, and it was a beautiful day outside, so I got out my new hammock stand and put my favorite hammock on it and realized that the hammock stand was too small for my hammock. After a little break, my mother-in-law and I got busy cleaning the walls, wiping them down really well, putting a coat of primer on them and a coat of paint. This room, just like all the other rooms, really started to transform once we started painting the walls, which was a really good feeling. For the living room and the hallway, I decided to go a little bit lighter with the paint color than I did in the bedrooms, and I chose the color Cotton Knit by Bear for these spaces. We also had an old phone jack that was at the bottom of the wall in the hallway entry area, and we could not figure out how to get this thing off so that I could get that paneling off the wall, so we used the multi-tool to cut the paneling off around it, and then we could remove the phone jack from the wall. Then we were back to patching and prepping this area for paint. Next day, we started working on laying the flooring in the living room, and when we pulled up the old flooring, this is what the subfloor looked like. It had a lot of what I'm assuming are pet stains, and again, the overwhelm set in. Otherwise, the subfloor was in pretty decent condition. It was just stained. None of these stains were wet. All of them looked pretty old. So we decided to clean the floor as best we could, and then I put a coat of primer on the floor. This is Kills primer. It's going to help trap any odor and, protect anything from seeping through and give ourselves a better base for laying the vinyl plank floor in this area. While the primer dried, I finished prepping the entryway for paint. Alan and I teamed up to finish laying the flooring in the living room. I spent a little time categorizing the planks. Now, our one complaint with this flooring is that the wood grain pattern on each of the planks is not varied enough, so you can kind of see some of the repeat occasionally. So we did try to, mix it up as much as possible so that the repeat wasn't too obvious. Every time Alan would cut a plank, he would make sure to also wipe it down really well so that there wasn't any dust or debris on the plank so that it would lay really nice and flat. We'd also make sure that the floor that we were laying it on was swept and vacuumed really well so that it wouldn't cause any issues with the floor laying flat. And this floor right here looks kind of black because it used to have a carpet pad glued down to it, which you can see in our last video where we pulled up carpet in the bedroom. So this was kind of the same situation. Cutting the planks around corners takes a little bit of time, but when you have a nice long open space to lay the planks in, it actually goes pretty quickly. So Alan was laying the planks, I was going and selecting the ones to make sure that our pattern repeat wasn't too obvious. And we aren't ready to move into the kitchen and dining room yet. We're going to do that after we finish the kitchen cabinets. So Alan put down a little stop using some of the flooring scraps on the edge to keep the floor from shifting when he tapped the planks together. All right, so I am here at the house by myself today. My husband had to go into the office, and I just want to get the ceilings in the dining room and the kitchen scraped today. So I spent some time yesterday getting plastic sheeting taped around the perimeter of this space. I'm really going to try to fortify this space because when I did the living room, it was so messy and the drywall clumps got all over the place. So I'm trying to be really extra careful. I'm going to completely section off this space with the plastic sheeting and put plenty of drop cloths on the floor just to kind of prevent the drywall from traveling while I'm working in here. And because my husband's not here and the dog's not here, it's just me, I feel like I can kind of keep it contained a little bit better. But first, I need to patch the holes in the ceiling just to make sure that I'm not like throwing the drywall mud into the ceiling space. So I'm gonna patch that really quick. Well, I say really quick. I've been here over an hour now prepping. Oh, and another thing too, I have not removed the back soffit yet on the back of the kitchen. because we've been doing all these other things in the rest of the house. But I think it'll be pretty easy to, well, I say easy. It's not gonna be, none of this has been easy. I just wanna be very clear about that. None of this has been easy. I didn't think it was gonna be easy. It's definitely been challenging. It's been doable. But I think that once I do get that soffit down, going ahead and having the ceiling smooth will just make my life a little bit easier when I get to that point where I have to patch that hole as well. So that's the plan. Tough. When I cut this drywall, I cut it just barely too big for this space. It's maybe like a 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch too big to fit into the hole. And so I kind of futzed around with it a little bit to try to get it to fit in there. And I just couldn't get it, so I decided to just leave it the way it was for now. Oh well, okay. It's temporary. It's temporary. It's my first time putting up any drywall at all, so. Oh my God, that wore me out. The scraping process for this area is going to be exactly the same as it was in the living room. I'm going to be spraying down the ceiling and scraping it with a 10-inch drywall knife. Almost done. Probably through. I did it. It took a long time. Well, it took about 2.5 hours to do this whole space. Now I'm just going to pull down the drop cloth, start cleaning up. These taste so good after doing things that make you really hot and sweaty. A seltzer water, I love it. Tastes like summer. I'm so relieved that that is done. I have to be honest, I had a lot of anxiety this morning when I woke up because I knew I had to do this. I knew it was gonna be a big job and I knew I was gonna be here today by myself. This might be the first day, like the first full day that I've been in the house by myself, and I don't know, I had some anxiety about it. And I just kind of got in the zone and did it. So I've mentioned this before, but everything that I'm doing, almost everything that I'm doing in here, aside from painting walls, I have painted before, but all this other stuff, I've never done this stuff before. I have a very can-do attitude and I love to try things. I love to learn new things. I like the physicality of it. And I love that feeling at the end of a long day when you've been working really hard and you're just like exhausted and you're hungry. You just know that you've done good work. I love all of that. You know, I watch videos all day long on YouTube of other people, specifically women who are doing home renovations and DIY projects. I find it so inspiring, but to actually do it myself has definitely been a little bit of a learning curve. I don't consider myself the kind of person that gets scared away really easily from big projects, and I would, you know, definitely say that's very true in this process as well. But it doesn't mean I don't get the anxiety. So anyway, I'm really relieved to have this done. We're gonna be without a kitchen for a couple of weeks or maybe more. So we're prepared for that, but it's gonna take a little while to get the kitchen all together the way that we want it. It seems like you're watching these videos and you're like, wow, they're moving really slow. We're actually moving, you know, maybe twice as fast as the videos are coming out, which is it still feels like a snail's pace sometimes. But we've been in here every freaking day for 2.5 weeks working our butts off. So anyway, if you like what I'm doing here and you want to see more, subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Bye.